Thank you for joining us for another episode of the Four Trained Savages podcast, episode number 254. Today is August 27th, and the Yankees sit at 75 and 57, 3.5 games back from the Tampa Bay Rays in the American League East, and not too far behind them are the Boston Red Sox, only 2.5 games back in the standings. Joining me today to talk a little bit about this recent stretch for the Yankees ahead and heading into a very important rivalry weekend in the Bronx is John Jastremski. You've seen him on SNY, the New York podcast, and now starting his new venture with _NY. JJ, thanks for taking some time and spending some time on this pod and talking a little bit of Yanks, man. Appreciate you coming on.
Rob, my pleasure. I'm happy to be on. You made me feel old right out of the gate mentioning listening to my old school overnight shows back when you were in high school. But that just goes to show you I've been around the block a little bit. But I am stoked to be on this pod, and I'm super stoked for this weekend. Monstrous series for the Yankees. Without a doubt, the biggest series the Yankees have played in 2026, without question.
Yeah, and they're going to be closing it out for the month of August, which has been somewhat of a, after some treacherous times at the tail end of June, but they righted the ship. And in August, with the influx of George Lombard and some of the younger players, they really have done a nice job in the month of August, where in past seasons it's been a little bit up and down here and there, as well as we've seen in the June swoon. August has been kind of an underrated time where they may also falter before getting some reinforcements. But this series against Boston, 4-game set, because it's bringing back that rain delay that rain game that was back in April. So it's a 4-game set. Boston's only 2.5 back in the standings. So this is a big weekend, and it's right before they will, according to some of the sources out there talking with the Yankees, before they could get Aaron Judge back for a homestand following a San Diego series and a little West Coast trip. So this is big stuff for the Yanks to really either take a leap over the Tampa Bay Rays and get closer to a division, or we could be looking at them trailing the Red Sox and maybe even staring down a wild card series at Fenway.
Well, and that's the frightening thing about this, right? We've seen the Yankees go and have some nightmarish Fenway weekends. They did it earlier this June. That another series last year where they got swept. I think for a whole lot of people, Rob, and rightfully so, there is this sort of Yankee PTSD from being up in Boston for a big game. I was there for the 2021 wild card. We could go all the way back to the 2004 American League Championship Series. And weird things happen at Fenway. The quirky nature of the ballpark, the bounces of the ball. Somebody like Gerrit Cole always seems to pitch like crap when he's up at Fenway. You don't want to have to deal with playing the Red Sox, period. You most certainly don't want to deal with playing the Red Sox at Fenway Park, where I think they're, despite the terrible start they got off to over the first 2 months of the year, they're a far more dangerous team to play in their park.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what the Yankees, we've talked about how winning division series, even if it's against one of the lesser teams, because Boston started off the year not good, but then they crawled their way back in the summer months. And we talk about these division games, whether it's Tampa, whether it's Boston, whether it's against the Orioles, whether it's against all these other teams, you have to win series. And this is because you're going to get down to it in late August, in September, and then those are going to determine where you fall in the seedings and whether you're playing away or whether you're playing at home or whether you have that bye as the top American League seed. So it's going to be a big series this weekend. And one of the big pieces of news that I wanted to get your take on, other than Aaron Judge, according to Joel Sherman, will be estimated to make his return around September 10th, which is a good thing. And we'll be seeing him. I mentioned it a little earlier that they may see him against that Rockies series when they're starting out, maybe the 9-11 series when they're going to be playing against the Mets in the Subway Series. But Giancarlo Stanton officially transferred to the 60-day IL because of, during his rehab, was running the bases and he fell and injured his other calf. So there was a lot of conversation of what they would do at the DH spot and how they would treat Luis Garcia and how they would treat Ben Rice. And then, are you bringing in Giancarlo Stanton and how is he going to fit in the mix? Or is Aaron Judge going to be able to play the field? Well, Giancarlo Stanton is not going to be around, and we're looking at another season. And I'm a big fan of Giancarlo Stanton. I would be a defender in a lot of different spots with him. But there's no avoiding that you cannot excuse what he's been in terms of the injuries. It's bad.
So that's why Giancarlo Stanton is a very complicated Yankee resume. Because the positive sign of this is, hey, the Yankees are about what you do in October. They're defined by what you do in October. Rob, he's been one of the best postseason performers of the last 15, 20 years. That's how good he's been. All the monstrous home runs. He had the monster 24 postseason where he wins LCS MVP, hit a couple home runs against the Dodgers. Like, he is a postseason legend.
Yes.
However, if you go back to when they brought him in 2018, weird fit with he alongside Aaron Judge, two right-handed power hitters. Bryce Harper wanted to be a Yankee. He was basically begging. They didn't make a play for him. Manny Machado, who I didn't necessarily want, he was another one of these guys that wanted to be a Yankee. They passed up the opportunity of getting two guys that I think it is fair to say have been far more reliable and have been much better day in and day out when it comes to helping baseball teams because of availability.
Yeah.
And that's where, to me, the Stanton legacy conversation of all of this gets very, very tough because I would say in the regular season, there was a lot of underwhelming seasons, missed games, underperformance, not a storied regular season Yankee.
Yeah.
Postseason's a different conversation. And if they had won a championship, I don't think there's any debating this. It'd be like, hey, Giancarlo Stanton was a postseason legend. He helped us win whatever World Series it might be, and we're thankful we made the move.
Yeah.
And he didn't win. Well, yeah. It's not his fault, but he didn't win. So now it's like, okay, well, you hit all those postseason home runs, amazing, but the team didn't win. You got hurt, you didn't play. A sense of unfulfillment one way or another. You have to feel that.
Yeah, and it's really unfortunate because it did feel like in that 2024 season and that 2024 that postseason, he really emptied the tank. And when you had a Soto and when you had a Judge, which you would have liked Judge to play a little better in those playoff series, but it felt like he left everything that he had on that field, and he went into that season with the elbow issues. And then he started the 2025 season in a really strong way, and he even started this season pretty strong, but his body just keeps catching up to him. He's at a point where he's just can't be reliable, and that's why they made the move for a Luis Garcia, who in his last 7 games has been an absolute beast. He has a 462 average, of 517 on base, and 962 slug. So this guy, who was the best slugger in the National League, is now filling in. So that kind of alleviates a little bit of the stress that you would have, and you would say, other than matchups, when you're looking at a lefty, and maybe that could be something that you're having to discuss when it comes to Boston, but now you have a slugger that fills in, and you can balance him and Ben Rice in the DH spot. Hopefully that Aaron Judge is playing in right field, but we'll have to see. But I think that move and how they treated the trade deadline and how Luis Garcia has been playing now really shows you what they saw in Stanton, and I'm glad that they did make that move because now you're not depending on him as much.
Total must. And it makes you think the Yankees kind of knew this was coming with Stanton.
Yeah.
Because when they made the Garcia trade, as much as I liked him as a bat, part of the calculus was, okay, well, where's he going to play? Because Ben Rice's been so good, you want him to play. They still have Paul Goldschmidt against lefties. It's like, well, Stan's coming back, so what is our situation? Now it's really simple. Rice plays every day, and your first base platoon more than likely is going to be Garcia against righties, Goldschmidt against lefties, and that's that. There you go.
Yeah. So we'll see how they shake it out and how they treat this. The easiest situation though too moving into this postseason is hopefully Aaron Judge in that rib is able to play in the outfield, and we'll see kind of early on they'll phase him into the DH spot, and we'll see how it kind of progresses if he is able to play the field, but that makes everything else easier. I wanted to get your opinion too on this pitching staff, because in this last week we've seen a couple of bigger names and bigger factors in this Yankee starting staff, and as well as the bullpen, potentially with Fernando Cruz having a partial UCL tear, and he could potentially need Tommy John surgery to end the year. And then we saw Ryan Weathers head to the IL with a left forearm flexor strain, and he's getting shut down for 2 to 4 weeks, according to Aaron Boone. And Boone alluded to the fact that he may be pitching again in 2026, but we know that the amount of time it takes to ramp up, it's going to make that tougher. Having a return in Clark Schmidt, he's been throwing live bullpen sessions at Yankee Stadium. He was like facing Brad Ausmus and some live at bats, so that's good to see from Clark Schmidt, and it seems like he will be put in that bullpen role. But I wanted to ask your opinion of what you think of this. It could be the starting staff and as well as the bullpen, who in this last week we saw Hedrick and some of the guys who have been racking up a lot of these innings over the year. kind of start to see the laboring, start to see a little fatigue. So what do you think of this starting staff and then the bullpen? What is the, kind of your outlook heading into the rest of this September and then heading into October?
All right, there's a lot to unpack there. Let's start with the starting staff. I think when Free gets back, it's the best starting four baseball has to offer.
Yeah.
I really do. Between Schlittler, who I think is the AL Cy Young frontrunner, Cole, who's pitching as well as ever,
Yeah.
Fried, who looked great, and now you got Rodon as your number four starter. I mean, that is an unreal 1, 2, 3, and 4. That should be the calling card, the hallmark, the bread and butter of the Yankees if they get to and win a championship. It's going to be the best, and I've said this multiple times now, Rob. This is the best rotation the Yankees have run out there since the 2003 season. I know 2009 they won. They had three starting pitchers, and A.J. Burnett could pitch great at home, and he was terrible on the road. This 1, 2, 3, and Rodon as your four, best rotation the Yankees have had since Clemens, Pettit, Wells, and Messina, which was in the 2003 season. That's got to be key for them. Like, if we're talking about the Yankees getting to and winning a World Series, that's going to be a big talking point. The bullpen. They've done an unbelievable job of finding guys. Like Matt Blake is incredible. What he did with Ryan Weathers is incredible. Hedrick and Blackburn turning into big time late inning options seems insane to think about. Like if you had said to me at the beginning of the year, the Yankee back end of the bullpen would be Brett Hedrick and Paul Blackburn and JJ, you'd feel good about it. I'd say, you sure about that?
No, I don't know.
but it makes sense though, because hey, what was Clay Holmes before the Yankee pitching department got to him? What was Luke Weaver before the Yankee pitching department got to him? Look, you give the Yankees a lot of crap for a lot of stuff. I'm not one of these guys that's going to wave the pom-poms on the fact they haven't won a World Series now in almost 2 decades. Like, there are plenty of things I can nitpick and take them to task on. I am not taking them to task on their pitching department. I think it's fabulous. I think it's exquisite. I think it's top of the line. So, from that standpoint, are you worried about the wear and tear on Blackburn and Hedrick? I think you have to be. They've pitched a ton this year. You got to get creative with how this bullpen is going to look. I'll give you an example. Elmer Rodriguez, saw him pitch yesterday. Why can't Elmer Rodriguez be an arm in 2 or 3 weeks that's pitching out of the bullpen? To me, he's got a live arm. He's pitched his ass off in AAA. Hello, come and help out the team. Like, he's starting games for now in the absence of Ryan Weathers. Great. Come October, is he one of the 26 or 27 best people you could put on a roster? You're damn right he is. So that to me is a creative way to go and make your bullpen better. Clark Schmidt, hey, been hearing a lot about him now over the last few months. He's getting close. He's ramping up. He's got bullpen experience. That hopefully will be somebody that could go and help your bullpen. That to me has got to be the idea for the Yankees. Getting creative in addition to the other guys that they have that they've counted on all year to go and complement this thing and kind of fill it all out.
Yeah, and one other one that we talked about, and maybe Yankee fans don't want to hear as much because of his performance in early 2026, but Luis Gil, since being transitioned to the bullpen, has been looking pretty respectable in Scranton. And that is also one that I would say maybe not as fresh in our minds as Elmer Rodriguez is and how he looked against Houston yesterday. That could be something that the Yankees also maybe play around with.
Well, he's got a live arm, Rob.
Yes.
He's got a very live arm. Here's the problem with Gil out of the bullpen, though. He's got to throw strikes.
Yeah, that's the thing.
That's always been his problem. And when you come out of the bullpen and you don't throw strikes,
that's a problem.
It's that much more problematic,
Yeah.
No pun intended. So, great. Get him up here come September. Let's see what he's got. But that is definitely going to be a concern of mine. Like, all right, you can't really bring him in the middle of an inning. He's going to need clean innings to start, but can he throw the ball over the plate?
Yeah, absolutely. And so transitioning back to some of the offensive side or the offensive side of the ball, some of these guys in the position unit. George Lombard has been the conversation of these last 5 games, more specifically because he made 5 errors in his last 5 games. Yesterday was another rough one. Since coming up, though, on the offensive side of the ball, has 18 hits, 2 home runs, 265 average, 320 on base, a 688 OPS. And my impression, and I'd love to hear what you have to say about Lombard, is I'm not waving, like I'm not sounding the alarms or doing anything like that. He's 21. He still has a lot to learn. This is his first cup of coffee in the league, but it is certainly something to, I mean, if you're making 5 errors in 5 games, it's something of note. I'm not going to absolutely lose my you know what over it, but it is certainly something in these games that the Yankees have to win. When we had that energy for Anthony Volpe, who I was a harsh critic of, and a lot of Yankee fans were also a harsh critic of, that if George Lombard, and there's going to be growing pains, there's going to be stuff that he has to learn, but this is something that Yankee fans and us in the podcast space are going to talk about. It has been a little bit of a rough stretch for Lombard, and it, to me, it just is that reminder that he is a rookie. Even though as good as he was to start, he hit the first couple home runs against St. Louis, there's going to be some time for him to grow. Now, while I would be okay with him making errors, I would prefer it not to be 5 in a row in every game that he's been playing in the last 5 games. But it is something of note, and I would love to hear what you have to say of what your impressions have been overall of Lombard and what you kind of take on that surface level there from Lombard and those 5 errors in these last games.
So the biggest positive that I could give George Lombard when he came up right from Jump Street is that he looked like he belonged.
Yes.
Like he
Looked
just
like a ball
looked
player.
comfortable. He looked like a guy who had been playing in the big leagues for a couple of years. He's making these really tough plays. O'Neill said in the Yankee broadcast, he's like, wow, I haven't seen a Yankee shortstop do that all year. Well, he was absolutely right about that. So all of the praise and all of the accolades I threw the way at Lombard, I got to be fair and transparent here. I don't know what's gone on the last 5 games. They're not of the Anthony Volpe variety of errors with the throws and just like you're questioning, oh, does he have the physical capabilities to go and play the position? We all know that George Lombard has all the skills to be a top-notch defensive shortstop. Has it gotten in his head a little bit?
That's the
I
thing.
hope not. Listen, the Yankees need him. With the way they've set up this team, they need George Lombard to be that answer at shortstop. So you're not going to find me clamoring to go and see Anthony Volpe once again at shortstop.
No.
And I love Jose Caballero, but I want him playing a couple of days a week. Not over Lombard is the everyday guy. But in this game Thursday, coming up this weekend against the Red Sox,
Yeah, can't be doing it.
is it at least now something that you have to be aware of going into the games? Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, when you're in a bad offensive slump and you got to like snap out of it, that's kind of where Lombard is defensively. It's like you're in a bad slump, dude. You got to snap out of it and snap out of it fast.
Yeah, and I think too, you mentioned Caballero. We're not doing the same thing that we were with Volpe to have him be replaced at the position, but I think that is the now with seeing how he's made those errors in these last games. This is a good spot where even maybe today, maybe when the lineup comes out, maybe they shift in Cabby for a couple games to give him a little bit of a break, and where they may not have been doing that as frequently with Volpe and not giving him, like, they kind of just let him out to the wolves and just let him sink to the bottom of the ocean. That's what it felt like a lot of different times with Anthony Volpe in his development process on a lot of different fronts. And that's where I say, okay, hopefully the Yankees have learned from their mistakes, and when they see this, they address it a little quicker, because you made the point that he just fits the part, he looks the part, and he has the physical tools that, especially when it comes to the arm, when we were looking at Volpe, it looked like he just had to put so much into a throw to get it across to first base. Lombard, in those early games, it looked like he was doing it with such ease. He looked like he just fit the part of being a shortstop. He's 6'2", big guy, big frame. So I just hope that the Yankees recognize it when it's happening, give him a little bit of a break here and there when they see it, because we have to remember that he's still a rookie and it's going to take him some time to get acclimated to everything. And that's I think what the big takeaway should be from this, and hopefully he just ends it, because we do not need it this weekend against Boston at all.
All true. However, you're playing shortstop for the Yankees. It's late August, and these are big games.
Yeah.
So you're not going to be given the same grace and leeway that you would be in April on like I'll give you an example. Not to pick on the Mets, but they're playing a bunch of games that mean absolutely nothing on the stretch.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be a jerk. It's just the reality of the situation. They're out of it. They can afford a young player to go and make mistakes. They're learning on the job. Like, okay, this is the time for them to learn. Mm-hmm. Lombard gives them the best chance at shortstop. That's why he's up here. That's why he's playing. But if he's struggling, it's going to hurt the team. So not to put more pressure on the young man, but it's like, hey, routine plays, kid, let's go. Snap out of it. You got to make the plays. Let's go.
100%. One other younger player that I wanted to get your opinion on, because what we've been watching in the outfield, and we know that Aaron Judge, hopefully, knock on wood, will be returning and be playing a part of this outfield. And if he is, that's going to make things interesting with Spencer Jones now being up and really performing quite well. One thing that has been a little bit under the radar. We've talked about in August how good Trent Grisham has then become. I think he was over like a 950 OPS for his last maybe it was the last 3 weeks or since August 1st, and he's been hitting the crap out of the ball. And that is a lot. You got to give a lot of respect to Trent from where he was in July, having a down period. But yesterday we saw another one of those plays where he let the Altuve double, which really should have been caught, have that go over his head and result in a run. And there's times where Trent hasn't exactly tracked the ball the way that he may have used to, or he's taking odd angles to balls. And I just would like to get your opinion of what have been your impressions of Spencer Jones. And then do you think there's any sort of world where they start experimenting? Because I'm of the belief that I think Trent Grisham should start playing corner outfield sooner rather than later, because I don't know how confident I am with him in center field. When Judge comes back and hopefully plays the outfield, what do you think that dynamic will be? Do you think they just keep Trent there? He's not moving off that position. What do you think they do with Spencer Jones? How do you think that they treat this outfield with this Yankees team?
Okay, I have to say with Spencer Jones, he's exceeded my expectations.
Mm-hmm.
I thought Dominguez at the beginning of the year was going to have way more of an impact on this Yankee season. I, for one, could not have been more wrong. Dominguez did not handle the playing time that he was given in the absence of Judge. Spencer Jones, over the last month and change, he's played well. He's hit the ball out of the ballpark. He runs the bases very well. He's played really, really good defense. Now, he strikes out a little bit too much for my liking. It's not the sort of profile I, for one, am looking at a player. Like, you know what it is, Rob? Like, when they brought up Spencer Jones, I think I had bad Joey Gallo PTSD.
Yeah.
Because he's
That's
a
fair.
lefty, he's got all this swing. Like, I never wanted Joey Gallo. I said a Yankee team that strikes out a ton, the last thing they should be doing is bringing in another guy that strikes out a ton and hits for a low batting average. Now, Spencer Jones hasn't done that. He's hit for a 250-ish batting average. His OPS is north of 800. Next year, he's profiling to be the guy who's the everyday center fielder for the Yankees.
He does.
I think we're living in that world. Grisham's on a one-year qualifying offer. You know, Judge will be in the corner. You know, Bellinger's going to be in the corner. That's next year. This year, Grisham's got to play because you hit on the last month. His offense has been really good, like 900 OPS. He's going to play. His defense stinks now.
Yeah.
Stinks. It's not good. Can't get the balls, making mistakes, unacceptable. His base running is also putrid. Can't move. How many times has he gotten thrown out on the bases? To the Yankees toy in the biggest of games that they play, yanking Grisham out of the game. Because I don't know what it means. Listen, they'll have enough playing time to go around in September when Judge gets back. He'll DH 1 or 2 days a week. You give a guy a day here. You give a guy a day there. I'm not worried about that come September. Like, that'll work itself out. Playoff time, though. I think your outfield is Bellinger, Grisham, and Judge. And at Yankee Stadium, Rob, I don't get nuts about who's in left and who's in center because you have a crap ton of ground you got to cover in left field at Yankee Stadium. And I also think playing left field at Yankee Stadium is not easy. Like the roots off the ball, especially when the sun is out, it's a crazy sun field. So like I'm not experimenting with my outfield in September and October.
No, that's fair.
With flipping Bellinger and Judge, Bellinger and Grisham. I'm not doing that. Yeah. But to your point and your concern on Grisham, dude, I got to lead in the 6th inning and the 7th inning of games. Grisham's coming out and Jones coming in. That's what I'm doing.
And I'm a big proponent. I think a lot of people would agree that you put your best sort of athletic team in there. And Spencer Jones has shown himself to be a very quality fielder out there, and we know he plays the center field position. I totally get now at this point they're not likely going to give Cody more run in center field, but we've seen him be an elite center fielder when he does play there. So, and then, you think about how flexible and how well Judge will be moving there in the outfield too. That's a concern if he may have to DH in some of the playoff games. I think it's just been frustrating as Yankee fans have watched throughout this year. I think they showed a stat on the Yes broadcast yesterday of Jones's outs above average. I believe it was, yeah, he's -6 outs above average this season when you're looking at Grisham. And that is a problem. It's unavoidable. And when you're playing these games down the stretch in October, you can't make mistakes like he is. You have to have this guy getting to baseballs and not letting him just like it does look at times that he just throws the towel in and just lets the ball go over his head. And that is where I get infuriated as a fan. But you're right. I think that could be a formula that they do toy with a little bit. Is okay, we're getting down to it in the later part of the game. We have a lead. Trent, maybe we're going to put Spencer in there and give us a little bit of extra oomph on the defensive side of the ball as opposed to just allowing you to potentially make some, like, don't get me wrong, he looks cool when he catches the ball at times, but there's times where I'd also like you to track the ball properly, and he just seems to not
or get to a ball that he can't get to anymore.
Yeah. That's just the thing. He's not a fast runner the way that we once saw him be. So before we get you out of here, I wanted to get your sort of prediction for this weekend. What is maybe your hunch of what you're thinking the Yankees will do against this Red Sox team? I was out at Fenway the last time back in June. It seemed like I've gone.
Oh, you went to that sweep? Oh,
yeah,
goodness, that was ugly.
And I'm going this Saturday. I'm going to the first part of the doubleheader, so I will see them there. But I was there for it seemed like I've gone out every time, like for the last 3 years in June to go see them at Fenway, and every time they've like sparked their season, it seems like. So I am desperately hoping that not only just for this outlook of this team to be good and have a home wild card series, or much more importantly, win the division, but I need them to go ahead for my own sanity to be able to win against this Boston team, and they've been hot for the last portion of time. I know once Adley Rutschman got in there, they were hitting a bit of a skid, but it seems like this team is playing with a lot of energy. So what do you think that they will end up doing this 4-game set?
I'm going to say that they split it 4 games, which I don't think is the worst deal.
And I don't think it's that bad, yeah.
Because you have a lead in the division. Now, I do want to make everybody aware of this. The Yankees go and split these 4 with the Red Sox. They do not have the tiebreaker, which, by the way, could matter quite a bit. It did last year with Toronto and the Yankees, where the Yankees had to go to Toronto for the ALDS and didn't win a division title because they lost the heads-up series. So if you want the heads-up series, got to get 3 or 4. The problem is, Rob, the pitching is not necessarily set up as much as you'd like it, because Fried is going to be limited if he pitches in this doubleheader. Warren is going on Sunday, and he's been awful as of late. I mean, I don't have any confidence that Will Warren is going to go and pitch well. And
Cole's
if the Yankees
pitching
had
tonight.
everybody back. Well, to be fair on this, Cole's not great against the Red Sox.
True.
Now, I'd rather have him pitch it in the series as opposed to Will Warren, but Cole, historically speaking, has not been great against the Red Sox. So I'll say they split the 4 games. I mean, a doubleheader alone, you figure that's probably a split. And I'll say Schlittler wins on Friday and Red Sox win on Sunday. I'll say split.
Yeah, that's fair. I will not be too mad at a split. You would always love a series win, but it's hard with a doubleheader playing against this Boston team. I think they're going to be hungry. They're going to be feisty, and you're going out for a little bit of a road trip again in Los Angeles and then San Diego, and then you're right back to it playing in like a Subway Series week against the Mets, who, even though they're not, like you mentioned it earlier, they're not playing for anything, but then they get up big because that's Friday is September 11th. It's the 25th anniversary. They're going to be jacked. So you have a lot of important games down the stretch, and then we know that Tampa Bay series at the end of the month will be ultra important. So I'm hoping to see at least, like you said, I'll hope for a split, but nightmare scenario is that they lose the series and then they get overtaken, because I don't want to play a Fenway series at Fenway for a while.
No, frightening. Nobody needs that.
No,
nobody needs that any which way.
No, absolutely not. But JJ, I really appreciate you hopping on. I know you have your new venture with _NY. What's going on with that? I got to go check it out. Got to go see what you're doing.
Yeah, I mean,
there.
so
I'd love to
in
hear
case
about
you want, it's our pod that we've done the last 5 years is now just going to be under the _ umbrella. It also means you're going to get more shows. You're going to get more lives. You're going to get me a couple of days a week in addition to the solo pod. So it's going to end up being, I think, a great thing for anybody who wants more and more content. You're going to get more and more content. So we're very excited, Sal, Jimmy Tran, and myself, founded by our guy Steve Hirsch, to hit the ground running the day after Labor Day. But yes, New York, now under the _ umbrella, and we are ready to go, Rob.
Absolutely. Go head over to all social platforms and go follow him there. That is it for episode number 254. Go follow us on Instagram at 4TrainSavages, on Twitter at 4Savages. Subscribe to the YouTube. Go leave us a rate and review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all the different social platforms. Appreciate everyone for listening. We'll catch you at 255. Peace.